Alright guys, so today's video is a PSA of sorts, because there's something that needs to be talked about that unfortunately is not getting talked about enough. Today I want to talk about manifestation and mental health, because sadly this is an area that is very often overlooked in this community. Not a whole lot of people want to talk about it, but I'm seeing more and more people out there that are struggling when it comes to understanding and implementing the law. These are not going to be popular takes for a lot of you, but ultimately I don't care, because this is something that I'm observing and something that needs to be talked about. Because some of the most popular teachings about the law of assumption can be downright destructive and harmful if we are not careful. Full disclaimer, this video is for those who genuinely feel frustrated, burned out, and overall fed up with their manifestation process. If you are somebody who is happy with where you are, if you are seeing success with what you are doing and seeing things come to fruition in your life, then that is fantastic. But this video is aimed for those who are genuinely struggling right now. So if you are somebody who feels like the overall quality of your life and your mindset has not improved since finding manifestation, or perhaps it's even gotten worse, first just know that you are not alone. There is a boatload of information out there nowadays in the form of YouTube videos, TikToks, Instagram Reels, Facebook posts, Reddit, and it is all too easy to become very overwhelmed in finding a process that works well for you. There's been an explosion in popularity when it comes to the law of assumption in the last couple of years, which in a lot of ways is fantastic. I love to see it. But for some, it can make this all the more challenging when there's so many people talking about this, there's so much information out there, and some of that information contradicting each other, and it can get overwhelming so fast, especially for those who are new and perhaps already not in a good mental place to begin with. And this really has to be addressed, because the way that some people are learning about these most common teachings and taking this information can be dangerous. After speaking to many people about this and my own personal experience, what a lot of people are taking from these popular teachings, such as don't react to the 3D, just flip your thoughts and continue to affirm all day, what people are taking away is that they need to suppress their emotions, battle their own mind over every intrusive thought that comes in, and continue to repeatedly affirm and push themselves in the hope that this will somehow lead them to getting what they want in the 3D. And this mentality can be incredibly dangerous, and I'm seeing it happen far too often. The unfortunate truth is that many people, when finding out about the law of assumption for the first time, are coming here from a very vulnerable state. Perhaps they went through a very traumatic breakup, or they're experiencing a lot of hardships in their life at the moment. The vast majority of people do not come to find these teachings when they're already in a place that feels good. Usually it's in a place that they are desperate to get out of. A lot of times people are coming from a very fragile and even desperate state. Whenever they try to reach out for answers and seek help, they're basically told to just keep persisting, keep going, keep beating those affirmations over your head. And from what I'm seeing, this is starting to become really toxic, because none of these methods and none of these mentalities are what Neville taught. This is not what the law of assumption is ultimately about. Here's the thing about the law of assumption that people really need to understand. When we are imagining, when we are using our imagination to live in the desired state and go to the end, we want to do so from a place that is healthy for us, from a place that resonates for us, that helps us to ultimately feel better instead of worse. What the law of assumption does not teach is that when we are struggling and feeling very bad, perhaps we're feeling hopeless or sad or scared, it does not mean that we need to just try to keep pushing ourselves and continue to try to force ourselves to feel good, that we have to shove everything down, bottle it, because we're fearful of our own thoughts and terrified to have one single negative thought. So we have to bottle it down, fight with our own mind, and keep going. And I'm unfortunately seeing way too many people doing just that. The most important thing, no matter what you are trying to manifest, and I need to be so crystal clear on this, the most important thing that has to be number one always is your mental health. struggling with your mental health, and if the law of assumption and some of the most common teachings are exacerbating that, then for the love of everything that is good in this world, take a break. I mean this with every fiber of my being. Take a break. Now, I know that the thought of doing so can be terrifying, and I know that it sounds counterintuitive to take a break, but this one is an absolute must. If we are noticing ourselves feeling worse instead of better, we have to take a moment and take care of ourselves first. If your mental health is struggling and manifestation and these techniques are making it worse, then the last thing that you want to be doing is continuing to try to push yourself and force yourself to affirm or to do SATs or whatever it might be, or to continue suppressing your emotions. This will only likely make it even worse. And I speak from personal experience on this. After speaking to many, many people and having them opening up to me about how they are feeling and how they've been doing since finding the law, a lot of them tell me that whenever they try to reach out for help, whenever they try to ask questions, they're essentially told that if they're not seeing results, it's because they're not doing this enough. And on top of that, they don't see any movement. They're not sure what they're doing wrong. They feel like they're bad at this. And all this frustration ends up going inward. And it turns into us just beating ourselves up, feeling terrible. And so they keep trying to go harder and harder, while all the while feeling worse and worse and getting more and more frustrated with themselves. And it just winds up becoming this vicious circle that seemingly never ends until ultimately there's burnout. This is not how conscious manifestation works. This is not the approach that we want to be taking when it comes to conscious creation. Conscious manifestation is not us just suppressing our emotion, being fearful of our thoughts, and trying to force ourselves to believe something that we don't believe. We're told that we need to never have a reaction, that we need to feel blissed out and happy all the time. We're not allowed to have a single negative thought, or else we ruin our manifestation. What's actually going to ruin our manifestation is if we continue to try to force ourselves to keep going and persisting past the point of exhaustion, not take care of our mental health, and continue to live in fear of any negative thought that comes in the mind. Because suppression is only a temporary solution that may work in the short term, but is never going to yield long-term results. Our mind is like a container, and there's only so much that we can shove down, there's only so much that we can suppress, and only so many times that we can try not to react until at some point that container is full and there's nowhere for those reactions to go but out. So if this is what you've been doing, either consciously or not, then for the love of everything good in this world, please drop the notion that this is the approach we have to take. First and foremost, you must take care of you. You must take care of your mental health. This is not an area of compromise. This is not something that we can negotiate with. If this has been happening to you, then the first and biggest thing that I need you to do is to take a timeout. Take a break, put everything on pause, and take a moment to take care of you. Take care of whatever you have to take care of in order to feel better. Do whatever you need to do to get this anxiety and get this frustration out. Take a pause to recharge your batteries and let yourself feel and process and do whatever you need to do first. And if that means that you need to react, then do so. Because here's the thing, it is okay to have a reaction. It is okay to have a bad day. We are humans, ultimately. Having bad days and bad reactions is part of the human experience. It does not make you weak. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you've ruined your manifestation. If you need to react, if you need to let yourself have a moment, then do so. And I've stressed this in previous videos, but it needs to be emphasized because I'm not seeing enough people really putting the focus and care on themselves and on their mental health. If you need to have a day where you are just sad or angry or frustrated, if you need to journal out a really angry letter, if you need to just vent and get it out on paper, then allow yourself to do so. Give yourself permission to be human. because at the end of the day, that's what we ultimately are. Because the truth is, we can always come back and revise later. We can always rewrite the day as we would have rather seen and would have rather experienced it instead. But if you're noticing a lot of frustration and anxiety, we can't continue to just try to bottle it or ignore it. That is not how we make it go away. Because if we are in a very anxious, fearful, or frustrated state, trying to manifest from that place, trying to feel good and warm and fuzzy when we are feeling pissed or sad as hell, is going to feel damn near impossible to do. It's going to feel like we're being tasked with running through a brick wall. If you're feeling bad or stressed or sad, you need to address that first. Take a moment to be still. Turn off the YouTube videos and just allow yourself to meditate. Do some deep breathing exercises. I know it sounds cliche and maybe kind of stupid, but there's a reason that breathing exercises are so popular and recommended for anxiety. When we take slow, deep breaths from the belly, we are sending signals to the brain that we are not in danger. And thus it's safe to shut off the adrenaline and cortisol response, otherwise known as the stress hormones. It'll allow our body to start to relax. So try taking slow, deep breaths. Try meditation. Take a moment and turn off the manifestation videos and give yourself some time to process and decompress. Try watching other videos, perhaps videos that are inspiring, videos that are motivating, videos that will help you to feel better. Look up things that are cute or funny, and they'll help to alleviate some of that stress. For a nice long walk or a nice long drive. Take a bubble bath. Have a day of self-care where you are just focusing on you and your well-being, because you guys, we cannot compromise or negotiate with our mental health. That has to come first, no matter what. And I know the idea of putting the affirmations and the manifestation techniques on pause can be a very scary one, but I promise you that you will manifest a lot faster if you do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself and take care of your mental health first. We are not going to manifest something desirable from a stressed out, frustrated, and hopeless state. We have to give ourselves permission to be imperfect sometimes, because as humans, that's what we are. At times we're going to feel utterly exhausted, and that's okay. Give yourself permission to be imperfect at times. Sometimes we have to show ourselves some compassion. It is far too easy to get mad at ourselves, to beat ourselves up if we're not seeing the results. It is far too easy to be our own worst enemy and feel like a failure. So we need to show some kindness to ourselves, especially in these moments. We have to be gentle on ourselves. We are learning. We are human. We are not perfect. There's going to be bad days, and that is okay. We cannot lie to ourselves and try to pretend like we're feeling better, try to fake it till we make it. That is never a formula for success, because God cannot be mocked. We cannot lie to ourselves. We cannot coerce ourselves into believing that we're feeling perfect and amazing when we're not. So lashing at ourselves, getting hard on ourselves, and giving ourselves a hard time is literally serving no one. This is not going to get you to your manifestation any faster. Take it from somebody who has been there many times myself. I was the queen of giving myself a hard time and trying to push myself to keep going, even when I felt like utter shit. Even when I was exhausted, even when I was tired, even when I was frustrated, I tried to just bottle it and kept going. And every time I did this, it would only make it worse. We do not need to try to flip every negative thought out of fear. We do not need to be fearful of our own thoughts. And thoughts themselves do not have power over you, because our thoughts are just the byproduct of whatever state we are in at the moment. And I know that this is one that a lot of people struggle with and a lot of people are fearful of. So if you are struggling with negative thoughts and wanting to learn how to combat that, I made a video talking all about it. I'll leave that guy up here and I'll also link it down below. We do not need to fear our own mind. We do not need to live in that guilt and shame and anxiety if we have a negative reaction. Even if we have a bad day, even if we spent all day stalking our SP on social media and bawling our eyes out and venting our head off to a good friend, ultimately it does not matter because we can always revise it. We can always move ourselves back into the state of the wish fulfilled once we have let it out and we begin to feel better. Notice how every time we do have a strong reaction, every time we do let ourselves have a good cry, that after we've let it out, we feel better. We feel lighter. It feels like the weight of the world has been lifted off our shoulders. From that place is going to be a million times easier to redirect and shift your focus back into the state of the wish fulfilled, versus trying to continue to beat yourself into the ground. We are always moving in and out of states of consciousness all the time anyways. Every day, we are always moving in and out of different states. So just because we have fallen into a state that is not ideal does not doom you to failure. So let it be known and let it be normalized to allow ourselves to have our moments if we need to. As we're transitioning into a whole new dominant state of being, there may be moments of struggle, and that is okay. Let yourself be okay with taking care of you first, because ultimately that's what this is all about anyways. At the end of the day, this is about you as the operant power and learning to really go within and take care of yourself first and foremost. We have to put ourselves on the pedestal this time. We cannot prioritize someone else or something else over our own mental health and well-being. I made this mistake for years, and I do not want to see anybody else make the same mistake as well. Having a negative reaction does not doom you to failure, because as the operant power, as the one who is constantly creating in your world, you cannot fail. You cannot fail. And let me repeat that, you cannot fail. You are not a failure. You are amazing, you are incredible, you are beautiful, and you are deserving of all the good things that this life has to offer. And once we know and understand this, once we really begin to put ourselves first, and once we really learn how to love ourselves, how to take care of ourselves, how to be okay with our imperfect moments, knowing that ultimately we always have the power to change it. We always have the power to change the external circumstances, but not at the expense of our own mental health. Once we understand this, and once we apply this, you will create in your world a heaven here on earth. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope it was helpful. I hope the message rang loud and clear for many of you, because I know that this is a message that many of you needed to hear. If you enjoyed this video, if you liked it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you are interested in any of my resources, such as my coaching programs, my workshops, my blog, podcast, or my social links, I'll leave those down in the description box below, so don't forget to check those out. Also, don't forget to check out the other videos on this channel. Please be sure to check out my Manifestation Fundamentals playlist. Each video is a different topic, but it all talks about how to manifest the best life ever. So until we meet again, you guys, as always, please take care, be well, and never forget that you come first always. Happy manifesting, guys.